Real Estate Investing Profits presents Profit Masters with your host, world-renowned real estate coach and investor, Corey Boatwright. Now, strap in and get ready to learn elite wealth-building investment strategies taught by 6- and 7-figure house flipping masters as they reveal their best real estate investing profit secrets to you right now.
What is up? What is up? This is Corey Boatwright. I am your host of Real Estate Investing Profit Masters and the founder of Real Estate Investing Profits. How you doing? How you doing today? I have got one of my good friends, a mastermind buddy, a business consultant, someone I really have a true amount of respect for, and his name is Mr. Frank Cava. And you're going to hear about what Frank is doing in his business right now to crush it, not only in his fix and flip business, but he's doing some really interesting things on his wholesale business as well. He gives you some formulas that you're going to want to make sure that you write down. He also has a buy and hold, a little small rent portfolio of properties, and his story is really inspiring. I think you're going to love it. And so I'm excited to bring him on here. Make sure that you text the word profit right now to 38470. Text the word profit to 38470 and download the Down and Dirty Ultimate Real Estate Investing Quick Start Guide. And that is my gift to you. We have thousands of people have downloaded the guide and they love it. So thank you very much for doing that, because it's going to give you some tips and tricks, some strategies that is working now, not like 20 years ago, right? Which you can tend to find on an old ebook somewhere, online. So I want to encourage you to kind of put things aside and really hone in on what Frank's kind of edge is on how he is running his business like a true business, not a hobby. That's one of the big differences that you're going to hear from Frank. He knows his numbers inside and out. I mean, you got to pay attention to this story he talked about at the stoplight. You're going to love this story. When I asked him about his favorite mobile app, you're going to crack up. So make sure you check that out. Also, it's cool that Frank is building an education business. So I want you to check out what he's doing with that too, because there's nobody better to really teach what he's doing. He is so qualified for it and has got the results to prove it. By the way, if you are interested in taking your business to the next level, we are taking a few more folks right now into our program called How to Flip Contracts, Not Houses. And really, it's just talking about working with a coach and how that can really dramatically positively impact your business. Frank even alludes to it on a couple of our questions on how it's dramatically improved where he is today. So make sure that you check out our website at phenomenalcoachingresults.com. Phenomenalcoachingresults.com. Check it out. Tell me what you think. I made a video for you and see if you're a right fit. All right. So without any further ado, my good friend, someone I highly respect, someone you're going to get a ton of value from, Mr. Frank Cava. Frank Cava, are you there, my man?
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. You look good, man. You look good. Healthy, happy. I know some good things have been going on with you. So thanks for taking the time to be on Profit Masters. I've been wanting to get you on here for a little while to talk about some of the new things that are going on with your business. We will get to that, but I was thinking about how you and I met each other. We met each other. Do you remember the actual first time we met each other?
We met each other for the first time at a VIP table in Las Vegas.
In Vegas.
Yes.
Nice.
Right?
And yeah. So with either one of the boot camps or one of the Chris McLaughlin Nathan things when we were doing short sales, or the Jeff Adams event. So it's one of those three.
It was with Nathan and Chris.
Yeah.
And I have been with those guys on a couple of their events, which was a lot of fun. But this particular one, I was there with some buddies, and there was like an overlap day where we bumped into each other. And then Corey and I are actually in a mastermind group together as well.
Right.
So we met each other kind of in passing in concentric circles. And then we became pretty close friends in the through the mastermind, and we get together 4 or 5 times a year. We see each other. So
yeah, I love it, man. And actually, you and I worked together on some consulting as well. You were interested in, you had really more of a brick and mortar, I guess you would say. You had a great fix and flip business. I know you're going to talk about that a lot on the show here, but you wanted to get more involved with building a list and doing more involved with internet marketing. So we've done some of that in your business, and I know that from some of the results that you've said in the past, that's worked out pretty well for you.
it has. So I've been in real estate since I was a little kid, and I wanted to have multiple streams of income. I have the fix and flip business, I have a wholesale business, I have a rental portfolio, but then I also wanted to have an education piece as well. I think if you're on this podcast, you know Corey's a really, really good internet marketer, and he has figured out how to add value every day, but at the same time, turn that into a real business. And I wanted to learn those skills. So we've been working together on that. And one of the things that I kind of was reared in the, corporate environment, and what you kind of recognize is that you don't have, you have some money because you built it up, but you don't have a ton. So you have to be smart in how you set your business up, looking at, kind of the metrics and what the market is giving you, and then build yourself in a way where, you have several income streams and you can weather different storms. And for me, the internet marketing side was part of that, because I figured as long as we're not in a global depression, and as long as I can go to a place where people actually speak English,
right,
I can sell something. So I figured it was an opportunity to be able to, build a business.
I love it. Why don't we talk about what particular area that you're an expert in? Because I know that you've been focusing particularly on the fix and flip model. But let's talk about what some of the areas that you are an expert in, and then how you got really involved with real estate.
Sure. I'm going to flip-flop that and do how I got involved first. But how I got involved in real estate is I grew up with a dad who was an electrician and a granddad who was an electrician. So I was into construction my whole entire life. I went to school and got a degree in construction management from the University of Florida. And unlike most of the people that I graduated with, my classmates mostly went into commercial construction. And I decided instead to go into residential. So I went to work for one of the largest home builders in the U.S., who's focused up in the Northern Virginia market.
Yeah, they did like $1 billion in business, correct? You're in charge of
like 5.
Wow.
$5 billion a year in business is what they would do.
Jeez.
So in a 12-year career with them, I kind of pick and chose the place to go that I thought met my particular skill set. So that's why I ended up in DC suburbs versus Florida, where I grew up. And in addition to that, I found something that I thought fit really well with me, and kind of, a lot of people will ask, Corey, you've heard this before, like, why do, how do you find joy in your work, or, all those
Right.
different things. And what I have really found was, if you pick something you like and you get involved with it, your work life and your personal life kind of all become one, because there's a congruent nature to all of it.
Right.
And if it fits really well, you tend to be better at it and you like it more, and it gives you more joy. So for me, what I really tried to work on was move to the market in DC, understand the business, and really learn it.
Right.
And in a 12-year career there, I was part of a division that would do anywhere from 150 sales to 500 sales a year. So the amount of experience we had there was tons. And in 2009, I just had enough of that, and it was grinding and grueling, and the market was awful. So I was like, I've had enough of this. So I started on my own, and I started off doing some short sales, and I started off doing a flip or two here or there, kind of using my own cash. And then what I really realized is the most important thing in this business is lead generation.
Right.
So my business well. I have a lead generation type business through direct mail and internet marketing. I pull leads that way, and then we do one of 3 things with them. We take them and we just sell the option as a wholesale. We take it, we fix it, we flip it, we sell it, or we take it, we fix it, and we turn it into a rental. So I have a rental portfolio of north of 40 units. And then we do, if you count both sides of the transactions, we do north of 100 deals a year.
That's great. And I know that the fix and flip business has just exploded for you. I know that you have a real talent on that. In fact, it's no kind of secret about how good you are at that fix and flip business. I know you weren't always this good on doing those kind of things. Did you have this, what we call kind of a breaking
point in your life where you just kind of said enough's enough?
With the fixing business, or with just business as a whole?
Business in a whole. Before you kind of took the plunge into real estate, did you have this point where you're working a day to like a 9 to 5 job, or did you have something where it's like a sticking point or breaking point where you knew that there was something else that you needed to graduate to?
Yeah. My story might be different than a lot of the guys who we know that kind of just bootstrapped it and didn't have, real corporate success. Most of the people we're friends with and mastermind and network with, there's the outliers are those that had either corporate success or like a practice success. Like Corey and I have a mutual friend who's a doctor and was a dentist. He was exceptionally successful as a dentist, and he's really successful as a real estate investor. But he had to go to medical school and all that stuff.
Right.
I had a college degree. I had an unbelievable job. I sat in a corner office. It was pretty good, to be frank. And what I ended up doing, though, was I kind of got sick of it. And I just realized, the way that I kind of define things is this. If you're fortunate enough to have that flash right before you die, that you get a chance to kind of review your life, I knew that in my life, if I had worked for someone else my entire life, I would be really disappointed if I had that moment. So for me,
you were always thinking ahead. By the way, I caught your little literal joke about an NLP of it was good to be frank.
Yeah. So, but that was it. So I kind of just, when I was 23 and graduated from college, I wasn't thinking, hey, I want to go start a business.
Right.
But 2007, 2008, 2009, I'm like, I want to do this. And that was it.
I got it. So really, you were always thinking ahead. I mean, there really wasn't a time where you were just kind of behind the 8 ball. I mean, you were always proactive, thinking about what's that next step, where you wanted to go. That's pretty interesting. There was folks that you and I both know that just had some breaking points of where it's like, I know there's more. I know there's more to my efficacy. I know there's more out there. But you were constantly, just thinking it through, which is a testament to, your success today on thinking through on your strategies, and particularly on the fix and flips, on what it's going to look like after it's all said and done, and creating a template. I know you've got it down to a science to what those individual pieces of the repairs are going to cost, each one of the materials are going to cost, and how you're going to, about how much money you're going to make on profit on each one of those. Why don't we talk about, before that, one of your big mistakes? Did you have a big mistake involved with real estate investing that you can really look back on and go, I learned a lot from that?
Oh, yeah. So out of everyone that we know, I think I'm the only person that didn't lose one penny in the downturn. So when 2006, 2007, 2008 happened, I sold everything I owned. And I got out. And all my friends were like, you're an idiot. Why'd you sell everything? You have all your money in cash. What do you do? Stick it under a mattress? I was like, yeah. And then a year later, they're like, what'd you do? Stick all your money under a mattress? I was like, yeah. My God, you're a genius.
You're a genius.
So the only thing that I screwed up, which was pretty big, I didn't have all the right insurances in place. And I had a personal residence that I sold for over $1 million, and the market tanked.
Yeah.
So that house that someone bought was now worth half as much on paper. So they just got really, really ticked off and decided to dream up some lawsuit to come get a pound of flesh.
Right.
Now I have all of the insurances one could imagine. But that I didn't then. So I had to physically fit the bill for attorneys that were $400 or $500-$600 an hour.
Jeez.
And teams of attorneys. So it cost me over $1 million all in this lawsuit. So the good news is that I lost a ton of money. The bad news is I lost a bunch of money. The good news is I learned a bunch. And the really fortunate thing is I had the money to lose. Jeez. So, that was my story and how I lost it. But most people that are going through this process have ups and downs. And what you have to do is, if you have a down, don't just have a down for no reason. Really analyze it and say, these were the reasons why it happened.
Right.
I want to make sure I don't repeat that again.
Right. Makes sense. Okay, let's talk about what is your Profit Master investing strategy. It's what's working really well for you right now in your business that kind of gives you the edge over everyone else, Frank?
Sure. I mean, I don't know how well I do compared to people nationally, but compared to people in my local market, and that's who you have to win against, right?
Right.
So who I'm competing against, what gives me the edge is this. I don't run this business like it's run out of the back of a truck. I'm sitting in my conference room. I'm on my secondary computer. Corey's been to my office. I have a real office. I have office
It's cool.
staff.
It's like it looks like a spaceship. I wish you would have a picture. It was a killer.
Yeah, we can put one up, but it looks like I just rent space. I don't own the building, but that's in the future here. But what helps me stay ahead is this. I run this like a real honest to goodness business. So that being the case, I have full-time employees, people whose career is made here at this business, and I empower them to be really good at what they do. So that's
when you say you empower them, give me some examples of what you mean by empower them to be really good at what they do.
Sure. So I have 9 employees. My office manager is in charge of many things, but books, everything with billing and books, which is not a small undertaking for a company of our size. I don't micromanage her. We meet twice a month and go over the bills. Okay. And she does everything from one meeting to the next and then gives me a report. So I don't breathe down her neck or ask 1,000 questions. Sure. We have check-ins, of course, but I let her do what she's good at. She's really, really good with QuickBooks. She's really good at accounting. I let her go. I have someone in my office who does selections. Now, in the old days, I used to do all my own selections. And so when you saw a house that we fixed, I picked the siding color, I picked the granite, I picked the tile. But that wasn't the highest and best use of my time. So I hired someone who's really good at that. She used to run a design center. Right. And what she does now is she goes in and she builds out all the selections. And she's better at it than me. And she picks the things that look good in the house, and we review it. And if I have a question.
Was it hard for you, Frank, as an interjection point for you to get to that point where you say, someone's better at something than I am?
I'm 41 years old, and I was a vice president with a publicly traded company at 31 or 31, something like that. So I'm an old hand at letting other people do stuff.
Gotcha.
So maybe in my low 20s, when I was 24, 25, and I was asked to delegate for the first time, sure. But here's what I can still remember as being kind of the axiom that you deal with management. Everyone thinks that we do it the best. Okay. It's pride. It's 100 other things. And in a lot of instances, it's an unreasonable quality that we all possess where we think we do it better. So we kind of have a chip on our shoulder or are blinded to see how other people may actually be more talented at something than us. And the right answer is probably if you bring someone else in to do a job, they'll probably do things worse than you do, and they'll do some other stuff better. And the net balance at first is they probably won't be as good as you right now. But if you give them management and you guide them and you teach them and you train them, and if you hire someone who's good, who's smart, who really cares, they're going to do a great job because it's important to them. Right. So what you learn is to give up some of the control, but you build controls in place. And what I mean by that is instead of me physically selecting the siding color, I let her go build the entire process, then bring it to me and say, okay, here's how I made the decision. Here's what I came up with for a package. And we review it. And there might be 100 decisions that go into what's going to go into a house. I might have an issue with 0 or 4 or 5. And she'll say, you know what? I see it from that perspective. The other thing is, too, as a business owner, you can't completely divorce yourself of what's going on, because if you do, your money is at risk. So if you have a little bit of overseeing and control, it helps. So that was it. But here's the best thing I ever learned about management. It was from one of my first mentors and bosses. And he told me, he's like, Frank, one of my elementary school teachers taught me this. She's like, see everything, forgive a lot, fix a little. That is management. It's parenting. It's being a spouse. It's management at its core. So if you really get in there and you hire good people, you give good direction, and you have a little bit of empathy and you let them learn and you give feedback along the way, you can build a team. And that's what we've done with the 9 people that we have.
I love that. And it also, it also just is a great way to be able to talk about treating a business like a business and not a hobby, which is really what you've done. You've really created a business and treated it like a business, and not just a hobby. Is there something particular that you're doing in your marketing or strategy that you're doing right now that is giving you the edge over everyone else?
We're constant and we're present. And because of that, it really helps us. And you're like, okay, Frank, great. You're constant, you're present. What does that mean in English?
Right.
We have a constant presence with direct mail, marketing, everything that you can do to run this business to generate leads, we do. We do it month after month after month after month. So we generate about 350 unique leads per month, new leads.
Now, those are leads being qualified as people that do want to sell their house, not just phone calls.
We get 350 to 450, depending on all sources of leads, of people who have contacted us. Okay. Some of those people could be get me off your list, but
leads are phone calls.
That's it. Phone calls or internet leads, whatever.
Okay.
But people who have come through the door that have contacted us one way or another.
Okay.
Of those 350 to 450 people per month, it's up to us to then determine, are they just annoyed with the direct mail?
Right.
Or do they really have a house that they want to sell, but they say they don't want to?
Right.
And do they want, if the price is right? So it's up to us to constantly just kind of filter through those leads. And your question was, what are we doing different? Number one, we send out more mail than anybody else. Number two,
which is about how much mail?
We send out between 30 and 40,000 pieces a month.
Okay.
And we only, to put that in perspective, like if you look at like San Diego, right? People there will send out like 100,000 mailers a month, but they got 6 million people. We have 1.3 million people that live here. So based on the size of our market, we're sending out a lot of mail.
Right.
But so we send out a bunch of mail. We're constant. We follow up and we keep going back.
Yep.
We get somewhere between 8 and 12 new deals a month. So one of the things that really does help us is, number one, we've been in this market for a while. Our name is recognized. People know that if we put a contract in, we're going to execute, we're going to actually close. And that helps a lot, Corey, because I had a meeting just randomly with a realtor the other day, and we did a deal together like 18 months ago. Okay. And frankly, I hadn't even really thought about him in the process because it was listed, but it came to us, so we bought it. And then we just assigned it to somebody else. And he told his buyer, look, I know they're like 12 grand under what you want on the price. This is like a $30,000 to $40,000 house. It wasn't an expensive house.
Right.
So, I mean, we took the bulk of the price off. He goes, but if these guys put in an offer, they're going to close. So you do kind of realize.
Start building that relationship with them. They know that you're going to do it.
Yeah. And you don't even, I didn't even know that he thought that about us.
Right.
It's a small market. And if you do what you say you're going to do and you're going to close and you perform, that helps a lot. On the other side of this, what happens is if you have a really nice house, if you go to our website or you go look at some of our pictures, we sell nice houses. I mean, they look really, really good when we're done. Anybody on earth wants to sell it, right? We price it right. It's in good communities. They want to sell them, of course. That's what a realtor's job is, but that's not the hard work. The hard work is for a realtor to find us a property and bring it to us. We have realtors that bring us about 20 to 25 different houses per year that we actually buy.
Gotcha.
So think about that. Like that's over $500,000 in profit to my business alone, just in realtor referrals.
Right.
So by simply being active, doing what you say you're going to do, and every single month doing it, it really helps your business grow. And having consistent action with mail and marketing and follow-up will set you apart.
I love that. I was just looking at some numbers here. So let's just say you do 35,000 mailers, and let's say that you do a 1.2 conversion. That's about 420 leads. You say you get somewhere between 350 and 400, or 350 and 450?
350 and 450.
Somewhere in there. Okay. So out of, let's just say about 450, let's just go with the higher number. So out of that, you're closing between 8 and 12 deals
per month. Yeah.
So it's taking you between about 56 to 40 leads to be able to close the deal.
I would say it this way. It takes us about 45 phone calls to get a deal.
Okay. And would you mind sharing, are your profit margins, are they 15 to 20,000, 20 to 25,000? What's your kind of number?
Well, we do three things, right? On the rental side, we want to make sure we get at least $400 per month.
$400 per month. What's your reasoning behind the 400?
It's kind of not worth it to do it for less. And if something goes haywire, you can spend that money pretty easily. So I like to make sure that I want to be profitable.
Sure.
So
I just didn't know if you had a formula for that, but or you just that's just the number you've arrived to.
I have a couple of formulas on rentals. The first one with rentals is I want to have we can get really nuanced. So I'm going to stay at
Got a broad stroke.
Yep. We want to make sure we have gross debt service coverage of 150%, and I want to make at least $400 a month over expense. Okay. So let me explain that in English. If the house rents for $1,500 a month, all in, I got to be at under $1,000 a month for principal, interest, taxes, and insurance.
Gotcha.
Real simple. And then if you notice, $1,500 from $1,000 is a $500 window.
Right.
It hits my $400 threshold.
Right. But you could actually go to $1,100 if you want to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Or and then you can tweak that number a little bit. So that's on the rental side.
Right.
On the wholesale side, I do two things. We look at a property, number one, and we say, we got this under contract. Do we want to own it to flip or rent? And if the answer is no, we wholesale it.
When you wholesale it, what's that typically look like for you?
If the answer is yes, and we want to keep it, what we do is we'll wholesale it if we can make 40% as much as we think we can make as a flip. So if it's a $50,000 flip, but I can get 20 grand right now as a wholesale, I'll wholesale it. In 2015, so last calendar year, we did $13,800 per wholesale. Our fix and flips were just over $38,000.
Wow.
In this current calendar year, we're about halfway through the year. We're just north of $15,000 now in wholesale.
Okay.
Average fix and flip is just under 50.
Yeah, 50, right? Yeah. So let's say 45,000. Yeah. And I don't know if you're probably hard and fast on your sticking to your rule, but that means you got to be making at least 18 grand or you're going to fix and flip it.
But just listen to that. I'm at almost 20 on the wholesales. It's real close.
Yeah.
And some of those deals, I mean, like we got a wholesale deal we're talking about this morning. We're going to make like $6,000. Like, I'm not too good to just take six. That's okay. But you know, those sixes and those eights and those threes,
they add up, right?
Yeah, but they also they chip down your numbers some. We just closed a house yesterday where I physically called the buyer and said thanks. It was a $27,500 wholesale fee. Normally we would double close that, but I was like, I'll just call him and say thanks. And he was all fired up. He's like, hey, Frank, I don't care how much you make as long as I can make my numbers.
Oh, wow. So that was an assignment. You didn't just do a back. You just did an assignment?
Yeah, I saved 15.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, but you got to feel that stuff out.
Sure. Yeah, I would say most of the time you're doing back to back, right?
If it's more than 20 grand, we'll double close it. And if it's a contentious seller or a contentious buyer, we'll double close it. And if you don't understand these terms, a double close means you own it for a couple of minutes in the middle.
Right.
And the point of that is it's not as clear of how much you're making in a fee.
Right. And so just to clarify, because a lot of people, sometimes they just get on here. They might have listened to your interview as the very first one, Frank. And so let's clarify. Fix and flip is when after you actually buy the property, Frank buys it with either his money or someone else's money, and he takes down the property, and then he will fix it, rehab it, and flip it for retail or close to retail on his market. Frank's fix and flips are pristine. They look beautiful. They look like something out of a magazine. Frank really knows how to get it done. And so he gets really close or sometimes over retail on those. Wholesaling is whenever you don't actually take down the property, you get a contract, a piece of paper. And you might have heard me talk about this in one of my courses, how to flip contracts, not houses, because sometimes people talk about this. I flipped or I wholesaled, and they don't understand the differences. A wholesale is whenever you're not taking down the property, you're getting a contract on the property, and then you're flipping that contract to someone else. And before the time frame on for your strike price to be able to close, strike time for you to close. So, you're doing 40% of whatever your price is for fix and flip, which right now in your area it's close to $50,000. So meaning that you got to make really close to $20,000, $18,000 to $20,000, or you're just going to buy it and fix it and flip it.
the important thing to clarify here is I don't just use my general numbers. I use the specific numbers for each house. So if I run the numbers on that particular house and think it's a $35,000 flip,
Right.
I put the work in, put it on the market, and sell it.
But your 40% number still stays the same.
Of 35,000,
Right.
not 50.
Not 50. Right. Yeah. You're not looking at your average for the year. You're looking at individual house. Right.
That's
good stuff, Frank. I like it. Really good stuff. What's a really great lesson that you've learned that's helped you get to where you are today, man?
I think easy only happens in someone else's life. So I don't know. I mean, I think people kind of look, Corey, I know we get to lead really cool lives.
Yeah.
And if you follow us on Facebook or see what we're doing, like, I don't think I've told you this yet, but I'm climbing Kilimanjaro in 10 days.
That's amazing.
I've wanted to do that my whole entire life.
That's
and
so
like,
awesome, dude.
yeah. So if you like find me on Facebook, you like, ooh, this dude just I mean, hopefully I get there, but to the peak. But I mean, it looks amazing in snapshots and still photos. But what gets me the chance to go to Kilimanjaro is a smart business acumen that took me from University of Florida to a great business where I learned skills that I enriched myself. Then I found when the timing was right in my life, I left and I started something for me that gives me the leg up, that allows me to be successful inside of my own skin. And I work really, really, really hard every day. I grind every day to work and build a business and build a team. And to that end, what typically happens is in the moment, it doesn't feel amazing and it doesn't feel easy.
Right.
But in the mirror, you look and you're like, oh, wow, you own over 40 rentals. Oh, wow, you did, almost 100 deals. Oh, wow. And it starts to happen piece by piece. But you got to be strategic every single day. And then after you're strategic every day and you keep doing it over and over and over, what you get is to a point where, it looks easy to others, but it was a struggle day by day with huge, huge payouts at the end.
If you had to start all over, Frank, what would you change? What's some advice for some new people starting?
It's going to depend on where you are when you start. The thing that I would tell you is be honest with what you know and what you don't, which I think I did a pretty decent job of. But don't think small just because you're new. Now, I'm not saying do something outlandish.
Right.
But, I mean, Corey, you and I have talked about commercial real estate. We've talked about other things that aren't inside of our business lane. And the reason we do that is we understand enough about what we're doing that we think we can take small risks or do other things. What I'm telling you in your business is if you are new and trying to start, the most important thing to do is to start. But don't let you regulate how much you can actually do and how much success you can actually have because of what's between your ears.
Right.
You know what I mean? Don't. Does that make sense, Corey?
Absolutely. Sure.
Don't put limits on yourself. Let that be told to you.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. That's great because what you said, when a new person comes in, they do tend to kind of think small, starting small. And I love the fact that you kind of challenge them that just because they're starting doesn't mean they have to limit to what they really want in life or what they want to do. I also love the fact you're saying be real honest with yourself, what you're good at and what you're not. I think that's a maturity lesson. I don't know I know it was extremely difficult in my 20s. I'm 40 now. You're 1 year older than I am. In my 20s, it was extremely difficult for me to have that conversation. And it wasn't because I didn't know that it was true. It was because I kept lying to myself that I'm the one that can do it better. I'm the one that can get it done. I relied on someone else and it didn't happen. And it wasn't until later on in life that I started, I call it the rule of 5. Every 5 years, you look at life differently. And it wasn't until my 30s I started to go, wait a minute, I'm doing these things, but I'm not enjoying life. Like the result of doing the thing that I wanted, to put the effort in wasn't there. I was just continually not able to scale. I wasn't able to do all these things I wanted to do because if I wasn't doing it, I was tied to the work. It wasn't getting done. So I had to figure out a smarter way. And I think we talked about this before, which was whenever I let go of control, I got more of it. You've heard me say that before. That was actually a big aha moment in my life And I think that that's what you're saying here too, is that be really true with what you're good at and what you're not.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And you and I both run coaching programs. So, I mean, this isn't self-promotion by us, but the reason I have a coaching program is because I've gone to seminars and I've gone to other people's coaching programs and I've learned a lot. And you have to realize when it comes to real estate, I had a PhD. I don't really literally, but I have a PhD in real estate because I work for a multi-billion-dollar publicly traded builder. And I know everything that I need to know about real estate, but I still spent money on education. I still spent money on being in the room with other people who were doing the business.
Right.
Because for me, there was enough changes, but at the same time, I wanted to be surrounded with the right people.
Right.
And by doing that, like our mastermind group, it's not free. It costs money.
Right.
You get to talk to other smart people that are doing this. So if you surround yourself with either someone who can show you how to do it or someone who's doing it, it's really helpful.
It is helpful. Absolutely. I agree with that. You know, what's one of your favorite motivational or business quotes?
It goes something like this. The entrepreneur works for several years like no one else will, so he can live the rest of his life like no one else can.
I think Dave Ramsey actually talks about that.
Yeah. And I was on a hunting trip earlier this year. I am not a hunter. If I showed you my shoes, you'd be like, yeah, no kidding. But like I'm not a hunter. But like I got invited to this really hunt. So I went out and hunted, and I didn't kill anything, but I was there. I mean, I was there mostly for the booze and the conversation. It was a blast.
Right.
And, we talked about this endlessly, and some of these people have achieved on a financial level like you cannot imagine. They have all of the things that one can have.
Right.
All of them have worked their butts off. All of them have sacrificed. All of them have done things that have set them up to have these lives. Now, the material stuff is measurable, but it not necessarily is the definition of success. Well, so what I'm saying is these people have had tons of financial and physical success, but spiritually and everything else, they have it too. But they have the measurables too. But it all took sacrifice to get there. So that's kind of it.
It takes sacrifice to get there. That's the biggest truth I think you could say, because it's 1,000% true. What books do you recommend, and name one that's really changed your life?
I have a real hard time with the one book that changed your life. In these circles, people always talk about Rich Dad or the 4-Hour Work Week or stuff.
Yeah, or Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, right?
Yeah, like for me, that I love books. I can list up 300 books I really, really enjoyed.
Right.
Most of them are fiction. From the nonfiction stuff, I get something out of all of them, but I'm not a constant go to the well kind of a person. But what I'll tell you is this. If you were raised right by good people and good parents, you have all the fundamentals that you need from books. If you didn't have that in your life, then maybe you had, we've talked about in your life, Corey, the people that were humongous influences. You get a lot of that guidance and steering from there. So for me, it has been those types of things. And then the way that I learned business was I went and worked at a really great company. So a lot of the stuff I read is review. Like the Wright brothers book was a really cool book I read earlier this year. It just talks about determination and figuring out how to fly. Great book. It's not like going to change my life any, but it's just like a lot of the good books you read out there. It's just a couple little nuggets you get to pull away and say, I can kind of file those in the back of my head, or it confirms what you already thought.
Right. That's interesting. That's an interesting way to answer that question. Do you have any favorite mobile apps that you use in your business every day? I know you're such a big technology guy.
Exactly. Corey will have 9,000 apps. And if you talk to Corey about apps at 1:52 p.m., at 3:52 p.m., he will have a whole nother list. But in all honesty, the two things I use the most on my phone are my camera and my calculator. And I know it sounds like, Frank, you're 75. You're a little too young to be a dinosaur. I get it. But what I'm getting at is this. I understand my business really, really well.
Yeah.
The entire team goes out and looks at properties. They photograph them. They put them in a Dropbox file, and it gets uploaded immediately to our server. So we have access to those. I know my numbers so unbelievably well that I don't need a fancy spreadsheet. I can, in my head, or while I'm sitting in a traffic light, pull up my calculator, punch a few things in and look at it and say, okay, I'll give you a great example, Corey. I got a call yesterday on a house, right? It's going to sell for 350 grand. It's going to take 80 grand worth of work, and it's $187,500 house. Gets the deal done. The guy called me when I was at the traffic light. So I went like this. This is honestly what I did. I pulled over. I looked at it. I said, okay, I'm going to take my sales price of 350 grand. I'm going to multiply that by 88% because that includes acquisition, interest, resale, and close. So we're around 12%. So that takes me down to 308.
That's what you're going to sell for? That's what you're going to sell that house for?
Okay. I'm going to give you the formula. The ARV is 350. After repair value is 350.
Yep.
I take 12% for all fees.
Okay.
Acquisition fees, carrying costs, realtor fees on the back end, and closing costs on the back end. Okay. And I go into more detail on this in like my blog series and my training, but right. Real fast. So I look at it real fast. I'm down to 308. I take $80,000 in repairs, and I got a $228,000 deal.
Where are you coming up with $80,000 in repairs?
Talking to the realtor and just kind of ballparking it and being really
it's not based on square footage?
On this one, it wasn't because the realtor had walked the house and he's like, Frank, I think 80 is a conservative number. I'm at a traffic light. I got to say yes or no in like a couple of minutes.
Right. So you're going with 80. All right.
I was going with 80. Now, normally I would use a square foot number. I would do different things.
Right.
You and I walk this neighborhood. I own like 9 houses around it.
Right. So you know this thing left and right, really. Yeah.
So I looked at it real fast. I'm like, okay, that's a $40,000 deal. Real conservative with 80.
Okay.
I've run my numbers now. I think I'm at 68,000 instead of 80.
Okay. So it just got better by 12 grand.
Sure. But I used my calculator and I said, yeah, I'll do that deal. I got it under contract with a study period, while I was the traffic light.
You put it under contract for what, 235, something like that?
No, 187.5.
187.5. So you took off your 80 from your 308, you took 80 off that.
Okay, I did 350
and then
times
you took
0.8.
your profit off that. So now you're at 187.5.
That's right.
I got you.
So it works. But I developed an app. Corey was involved in this process. I have an amazing app. You can put each thing in and it tells you the number to buy it for. But the app takes more time than you usually get at a traffic light. So I go to my calculator.
So you went to your calculator. That's awesome, man. Well, that's cool. I'm glad you got that deal. Do you have a morning routine that you go? I know you're big on health. I mean, you're a big runner. You've run 4Ks and 10K. Have you done Ironman? What's your morning routine on a consistent basis, Frank?
Again, I don't think I have the traditional answer here because I'm not a robot. This morning's routine was get up. I kissed my girlfriend. I went downstairs. I had a cup of coffee. I read a couple of pages of the paper, and then I went to the gym. What I usually try and do is I do something for me first thing in the morning. And in that time is the time where I blow off steam or I build in reflection or I do different things. Sometimes I just stand on a treadmill and pound miles, or sometimes I do it outside. But it's for me,
it's me time. It's that hour power time. Is there like an hour there?
Corey, sometimes it's 9 minutes, sometimes it's an hour plus. But what I try and do is I try and find some level of point where I can kind of set up my day. Gotcha. And if you ask me, like, Frank, how do you get so much done in a day? I don't do it first thing in the morning. I usually have a pretty good idea of what I want to do the next day when I leave the office. So I kind of set that stuff up. But between when you leave the office and when you get up the next day, the whole world can change. Right. But if you kind of have a plan of what's going to happen, it puts that in place.
Right. Do you get 8 hours of sleep a day?
Oh, I wish. I usually get somewhere between 6 and 7.
6 and 7. Okay. Frank, what are you most grateful for?
I alluded to it earlier. My parents. I've got amazing, great parents, and they're blue collar people. I mean, they're blue collar people. My dad is an electrician who goes to work and sweats every day. My mom just retired, does 30 years as an elementary school teacher, but they're not perfect. I mean, and then they're my parents. They drive you crazy like everyone's parents, but they are amazing people that just did everything humanly possible to be good people for me and for my siblings.
And still values in you, and you learn from them in a big way.
All of it. I mean, they're just amazing people, and I'm super lucky. They're still married. I mean, but for me, they were great role models, and the way that human nature works. Without them, I wouldn't be here. But they're pretty awesome people. I hit the lottery with them.
That's awesome, man. At what point do you recommend hiring, or would you hire a coach or a mentor? I know you and I work together in that capacity to be able to accomplish things that you wanted to accomplish that you haven't before, including building the app, building the education side of the business, even building a list and integrating more real estate with internet marketing. What point would you recommend hiring a coach or mentor? How important has it been to your success up to this point?
I would say as soon as you can't afford to live without it. And what I mean by that is I made plenty of money several years ago, and I went and talked to Corey about implementing a new business and building this new business. And I mean, this has been a labor of freaking love for us to build this education business that I have. But I got it now. I mean, I'm putting butts in the seats, and we're charging a lot of money. Now, people are getting amazing value, and it feels great because I have kind of turned the scripts. I've gone from being the student to being the teacher, and they're getting great stuff. But
you had one person come in, they paid you some, pretty good size investment, but they didn't even have a wholesale business. And when they left, they had one, and you had deals under contract, and it was like 2 days or 2 days, wasn't it?
We did a 2-day intensive with him. It was an immersion where he came and just we built everything together. We did some pre-work to it too.
Right.
But to answer your question in a little bit more clarity, Corey, if you want something, there's 2 ways to do it. You can go out and figure it out on your own, or you can find someone who already knows how to do it. Tony Robbins calls it modeling. Most people you notice at the gym, new people to the gym will always go work with a trainer for a couple of days.
Right.
So if you really want results, you can kind of go your own route, or you can go the route that you find someone who can help you get there faster. And for me, one of my very, very, very good friends, I've done triathlons for the last 4 years now. He's a unbelievable marathoner, like a 3-hour, 5-minute marathon. So he's averaging just under 7 minutes a mile for 26.2 miles. I hire people and have them coach me. This guy has accomplished all of this by reading books and just doing it. But that's him. He is like the most simplistic, just go do it. I need more. So if I have accountability, I have someone I can talk to about it. If I'm having hurdles or struggles or questions or concerns, you and I have had heart-to-hearts about this isn't working and I don't know if I'm good to do this, and being able to work through that stuff. I get a lot more out of that than I do out of a book. And because of that, that's why I have found coaches really helpful. And for people who I've sat on the other end of the table and coached, it's usually a little bit about, hey, I'm making a little bit of money here. I can make an investment, and I really want to just pole vault ahead versus just skip ahead another step or two through kind of the school of hard knocks. And that's worked well. That's
great, man. And I know you are a fantastic coach. I heard the results from people that have, not only in our mastermind group, it's obviously well known of kind of what you bring to the table and how much knowledge that you have and experience that you have, but also be able to transfer that in a way that people understand it and getting results, not just talk about they're getting results when they leave and working with you. So I know we're going to talk about how that people can get in touch with you, but if you had to summarize it, why do you do what you do, Frank?
I love it. I mean, it's just that simple. And
you love what? What do you love? Do you love the chase? Do you love, the result? What do you love? When you say it, define it.
I'm going to define it by telling you this. When I graduated from school with a degree in construction, I went up to Northern Virginia to work. And I used to have to get up in these cold months. I grew up in Florida, and I would drive to work in the morning. And I remember being up at 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning and being on the road and driving.
You had to get up. You had to get up and do this.
It was part of, I had a job. I had a job.
Right.
And I remember being miserable, just miserable.
Yes.
I didn't love that.
Right.
And I remember the only thing I looked forward to every morning on my commute to work was there was some guy that lived in an apartment that was like 25 stories up, and he had one of these like penguins, or it was a flamingo. It was a pink flamingo of neon. It was like a Budweiser ad. It was like 25 stories up. And I used to drive to work, and I knew I was going to be miserable at work. And I was like, I got to unload trim, or I got to go sweat. And I would look up and just smile at that as I went by work. But that was a temporary moment. Those moments passed. And 6 months after I was unloading trim and pushing a broom, I was making big decisions, and I was actually contributing. And then a couple of years after that, I got promoted a couple of times, and I watched what I had contributed and given to the business that I work for, and seen that I went from a guy that was literally capable of pushing a broom to someone who's now in charge of others and can manage others. And then like 5 years later, like I was unrecognizable to that 23-year-old. At 33 compared to 23, I was a vice president. I'm 41. In 18 years, I've gone from the guy that pushed the broom and unloaded trim trucks, and the only thing good about my day was looking up and seeing that sign, to now I've got unbelievable people that I have worked with. I mean, I have had people that have helped me learn. I've had others that I've been able to coach and mentor, and I love that side of the business. We've made impacts in communities. We have taken houses, making them better, giving people things that they like to live in. I mean, we have 9 employees. We have hundreds of subcontractors that work from us or for us. So we write checks to that, and it promotes the economy. I've got salespeople that are on the phones that are just enriched because they're making more money here than they did before, and they're solving problems for other people. So all of the little nuances that go into it. Do I like all the cool pictures from the befores and afters? Sure. But the thing I really love, I love the real estate, and I love the interaction with people. And that's the reason I got into coaching in the first place, is because I enjoy that interaction with people. I want to watch people do better for themselves. And I feel like the people that we've hired are doing better here than they did somewhere else, or they wouldn't stay. And I feel it's the same way with coaches. So like that entire process, real estate's the vehicle, but the process of enriching people is the thing I get the most out of. And a lot of times people can be a pain in the rear end, but in some instances when it works right, it's the stuff that really gives me the most joy.
I love it, man. How can our audience serve you? What can we do to help you? And how can we get in touch with you? What's the best way that you want to have folks come visit you?
Sure. My business website is becava.com, becava.com. You'll see before and afters and what we physically do here in Richmond, Virginia. And then as a real estate coach, we're at experiencedinvestor.com, and it's experience with no E. So just spell it all out and just delete the E.
X marks the spot.
That's it. So that's how you can get in touch with us. If there's any way that we can help or educate, we got videos that are up on YouTube every single day about the entire process of acquisition, through fix, through flip, and how to profit on the back end.
And they just type in Frank Cava on YouTube and find you?
They'll find it. Experienced Investor or Frank Cava, they'll find it easily.
We'll put this in the show notes as well, make it easier for those that are just listening right now and not seeing. We'll put this in the show notes. We'll put maybe some before and after pictures. Frank, if you want to send a few to us, we'll put those so you can see they're just a phenomenal job that Frank does on these fix and flips. Let me just personally give you an endorsement here. You know, I've known Frank for a while, considering more than just a business consultant. We work together in that coaching capacity. I feel like Frank is he's a friend of mine, but he's also, you know, almost someone I consider family. You know, Frank is a genuine hearted guy that really wants to see you succeed. And I can't tell you, I mean, it is to my, you know, you can work with coaches out there, and there's some that are okay, and then there's some that are just fantastic. And Frank is one that's in the phenomenal category. You know, he is someone that's going to help you get to where you want to go, and it's got to make sure it's a good fit. So if you do talk to Frank, make sure if you go to experiencedinvestor.com with just an X, no E, just experiencedinvestor.com, kind of see what you know, Frank's all about in there. There'll be an opportunity in there for you to have an application. It is application only for coaching. Frank's going to Kilimanjaro. I mean, he's going to all these different places right now, so the time is limited. So if you do want to book some time with Frank, I highly recommend that you check him out. I just want to give you a personal endorsement, man. I love you, dude, and I love seeing all the success that you've had, and I love seeing all the way that you're building this, you know, this education business coming alive. I mean, it really is just coming alive, seeing more people really get to see your knowledge and using your knowledge to impact. So I think it's really powerful. So I know that it's just the beginning of what's coming here. So thanks for taking the time. I appreciate to be on the podcast.
It was my pleasure, Corey. Thanks for having me, and good luck out there.
Awesome. All right. Remember, be a servant. We're going to bring you another incredible interview very, very soon. So stay tuned for that and talk to you soon. Bye now.
Hi, this is Corey Boatwright, and I have a quick question for you. What is the fastest way to reach your goals? Is it to work harder, work smarter, use system and processes, or hire rock star employees? What about just making more money? Actually, it's none of that. Those things are a byproduct of the one success component that every real estate investor or business owner that I know all have in common. And the answer is clarity. Complete laser focus on what you want, why you want it, and what are you willing to do to get it. So where do you find clarity? By hiring a coach and mentor. Now, could you reach the level of success that you want to achieve by doing this all on your own? The Lone Ranger. Well, maybe, but do you think it would take you double or even triple the time to achieve it compared to hiring a coach and mentor to help guide your path, provide proven instruction with a tailored blueprint that you could follow for building a real estate business that supports your lifestyle and helps you reach your financial and personal goals? Absolutely. Here's the fact. Time isn't recyclable. So I would like to ask you to make good use of it and extend a personal invitation for you to book a phone coaching strategy session by going to callwithcorey.com. That's callwithcorey, Corey spelled CORY.com. I'm going to ask you a few quick questions on that page, and we're going to go over and see how we can make sure that your business is on path to reach the goals that you want this year. So go to callwithcorey.com, that's CORY, and book your phone coaching strategy session today. Remember, be a servant, and I'll see you on there.
You've been listening to another Real Estate Investing Profits Master Podcast Series. To receive your free real estate book, Down and Dirty, Ultimate Real Estate Investing Quick Start Guide, how to quit your job to start flipping houses in 90 days or less, head online and go to realestateinvestingprofits.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Real Estate Investing Profits. Thanks again for listening, and stay tuned for our next episode.